What's up, Internet? You're tuned in episode 27 of Nintendo Noise, Flipscreen Games' weekly Nintendo podcast. I'm your host, Pete and Bessie, joined as always by my very good friends and co-hosts, Mr. Steven Radford.
Hello, hello.
Mr. Chuy Huerta.
Bye, goodbye.
And our guest for the month of Ring Fit February, Sierra Plus Ultra.
Greetings. Hello.
What is this, October? That was like, you're serving me like Lurch vibes.
It's me, Nosferatu.
All right, so we have a jam-packed show for you this week, kids, because Nintendo decided to drop a bomb that has upset people all across the web. Of course, the 3DS and the Wii U stores are going down after just a generation. Not even, right? I mean, shoot, the 3DS was an active console just a few years ago, and they're pulling the rug out from under us. So a lot of folks are scrambling to go and grab games. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of our favorites from both of those libraries, games that we think you should grab while you still can. And of course, we're going to check in on our progress on Ring Fit February. We are here in week 3, just 1 week to go, and we'll have to see how we are all faring. So before we get into all that, let me just remind you that this episode of Nintendo Noise is brought to you by our Patreon producers for the month of February. They are, of course, Mary Berry, Christian Oliveria, Christopher Valens, Gabriel Hasselmeyer, a.k.a. Sobi. I'm sorry, the Mary Berry thing still gets me every time. Smilky Shake, Wakahula, and Zaid Ida. Thank you guys so much for your support over on patreon.com/flipscreengames. Y'all are the realest of the real, and we appreciate your support of this fine program. If you want to go and show your support, there are a bunch of great ways you can do that. Of course, the best being the Patreon, where you can get access to a bunch of goodies, including our weekly additional Patreon-exclusive podcast, One More Thing, where Steve and I talk about what's going on in our lives and stuff outside the world of video games, and sometimes even bonus video game episodes. So who knows? It's a grab bag. Go check it out. I think it's well worth your time. I've claimed it's the best podcast on the internet, and if you want to refute that claim, you're going to have to go pay for it, so figure it out. Plus, you can get a bunch of other cool stuff like archives of our Twitch streams every Wednesday and Thursday. Steve and I, and sometimes Chuy and Sierra are there streaming games for you, so come and check it out. Come hang out with us. It's a good time. And of course, if you want to write into the show, be a part of the conversation, just like a ton of you did this week with the news that this Wii U and 3DS shops are closing, you can hit us up on our Discord or get us on all the other places you can write in over on flipscreen.games, which is, of course, our website, where you can catch all of our links. So go check all that stuff out. So, as of May 23rd, it will no longer be possible to use a credit card to add funds to a Nintendo eShop account on the Wii U or the 3DS family of systems, which is crazy. You'll have a little bit longer than that if you're able to track down a eShop card. You'll be able to redeem those until August. But either way, by the end of 2022, both of Nintendo's last-gen consoles will effectively be offline forever, right? You'll only be able to work with your physical software from then on. So, of course, that is, sad for a lot of reasons. There are a lot of games on those consoles that are exclusive and only playable there. And of course, those that have a physical release, maybe you can track down a physical copy if you're lucky. But for those digital-only games, this is an expiring window for you to get your hands on them. And, when you think about the games that use the proprietary technology of the 3DS or the Wii U, it's likely that they may never show up anywhere else again. So, of course, this is really huge news. Sent waves through the Nintendo fandom because, just a few months ago, we saw this on the PlayStation side of the fence. And, of course, Sony famously backed off when people said boo, but I don't think we have any illusions that Nintendo is going to do that, right? So, who wants to jump off the bench? Reactions to this news straight out the gate.
Well, I mean, I've got stuff to say. I honestly have been waiting for this day for a little bit. I honestly, I think last year, I just had a premonition, and I just went through the eShop, and I was like, you know what? What are all the 3DS games that I've always wanted but never really bought just because, I don't know, the Switch came out. I started buying games for that, right? And so I made a huge list of things and have been slowly like chipping out at that list and going like, oh, I think I'll pick this up and play it for a little bit, see how it goes. So I got a bit of a head start on that end where I was like already planning for the inevitable demise of the eShops and stuff, but this is definitely just boosted that where it's like, okay, now I have a literal end date here. Like, what is the last thing? When is the last time I can actually download something from this? And people have been doing good like PSAs for things where it's like, update your software, make sure it's like, at least whatever games you do have, even if they're physical, there might be updates for them and stuff. So, yeah, there's to think about in regards to both consoles where it's like, what games do I have? What needs updates? What games do I not have that I should probably look at digitally or physically? So, yeah, I feel like lucky that I was like, I think this is happening pretty soon. Don't know when. And literally last year, I was just like, let's have a list. The night before they announced, I guess it happened the night. And literally the day after, Nintendo updated their website. So it's like a whole new interface online and everything. What happened, unfortunately, with that is their whole game section, you can no longer look at Wii U games that are on there.
Mm.
They only list like 3DS and Switch games. And literally the night they announced it, I had gone through and I was like, you know what? Let's look at what Wii U games I would have. So I just had like a browser open with all these tabs of like, here are the games that I want to look at. The next day, those were all gone. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to see what happens if I refresh one of these pages.
Oh
It just
no.
redirects
Oh.
to the shop. So literally I was like, all right, I'm going to remember what game I refreshed. It was like one of the Harvest Moon games or so from the virtual console. And then I hit refresh and then it redirected and I was like, all right, I'm not going to touch these tabs. I'm not going to close them. And I have to go and make sure I have all of these games saved on my wish list and everything. So I lucked out there just for spur of the moment going like, oh, I better look at some Wii U games. What's on there? The 3DS, luckily, like you can search through it, but it's a clunky process just going through all the games and stuff. There's like not really good ways to look at them on either the website nor the eShop. Like you just kind of gotta hope you find something that you want there. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I don't know. I guess my thoughts are it sucks. It's a
Yeah.
bummer. And
Yeah.
Bummer is
it's just a
definitely
lot
the
of
word.
digging through things. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For me, it's kind of whatever when it comes to the Wii U because my family's always purchased like every Nintendo console just to have it. Yeah, regardless of like our excitement for it. So like Wii U was probably the one that we bought maybe total like 3 games for, 3 or 4.
Oh.
Hogan's Tournament, the Super Mario Brothers game that came out for that platform, and maybe one other I can think of. Maybe this I have no idea, but when it comes to 3DS, I'm definitely going to go in and uh kind of see what I need to update and what games I haven't bought yet that I want to cop before it's too late. Um I 3DS is definitely bittersweet because when I was getting back into gaming following the dark ages where I did not touch a single controller for a few years of my life, that was what I hopped back in with. So luckily I have mostly physical games, but to your point, Chewy, yeah, that's definitely a good idea to go in and check what needs any last software updates, and then I have an idea of like what I'll grab from the eShop. Mostly Pokemon. I'm just worried about
Hmm.
Pokemon, and then if there's anything I haven't grabbed that maybe I got a little extra funds for, totally will. I feel like, it's always good that Nintendo's, like, pushing forward, and, always excited to move on to the next innovative, thing and, new exciting titles. I feel like, it's not often that they look back and cherish the memories of what once was, and especially, like, different a lot of these consoles have been, like, very cultural, like, touchstones for, pop culture, especially in the US, so, um I loved the 3DS. I thought it was, insane when it first was revealed. So, I wish there were plans. I wish they had something in place to just be like, hey, don't worry, maybe someday, maybe like a few of these. Like, I would concede if they could give us any indication of literally like a few games coming to NSO or anything, that'd be awesome. But I'm not gonna hold my breath. And that's how I feel.
Steve,
Yeah,
yeah.
I never had a 3DS really. I did, but not really. I never connected it to a Nintendo Network account, and I didn't have a Wii U. But this news obviously sucks for a lot of people. I know there's a ton of people that still play on the Wii U, and there's a ton of people that still play with their 3DS every single day.
Maybe not
And
a
the
ton
fact
of
that
people
you-
who still play on Wii U, but 3DS for sure.
Well, I think there's a big fan base of Splatoon
You know what?
1 fans.
Yeah, Japan Splatoon 1 fans are still pumping that game. So
Uh, and it sucks that people won't be able to buy new games for the systems anymore. I mean, tons of the physical only games are ridiculously expensive, or if they're physical and there's a digital copy, which I know Chuy will get into later on, then maybe that's a viable option. But it didn't feel like a very long window they gave us. I feel like when Sony announced the PS Vita and the PS3 shut down, it felt like it was longer than 2 months that they gave us, which is all Nintendo gave us in this regard. I mean, I think there is a technical perspective and a technical angle to it. So there's a thing in the EU called PSD2, which is the Payment Service Directive number 2, and that requires all companies to make their online transaction process more secure. So every single transaction you make within Europe, the deadline is this year, needs to be approved through your phone. And in order to do that, they'll need to update all their payment gateways. So I can imagine Nintendo didn't want to put the time and the investment in order to update the Wii U and the 3DS and the back-end infrastructure and everything that was involved with it. And there was also the story that Nintendo Life broke, that they'd spoken to someone within Nintendo who had said that Nintendo has this 10-year lifespan that they look at. And as soon as a console hits 10 years, they deem it okay to shut down online services. And obviously the Wii U has just surpassed that, so I think it probably was around time for it to shut down. But it sucks, you know. At least they have given reassurance, whether people believe it or not, that you'll be able to re-download your games, you'll be able to continue to download software updates. How long that exists for, I don't know. I don't know if you can still do that on the Wii, for example, on the Wii shopping channel. I can imagine at some point it's going to be turned off entirely, and that sucks. And I mean, this is the reason people like physical media, and the people that really do like physical media really, really like it and want to and point to things like this as a reason. You know, how many games, how many hundreds or thousands of games are just going to get lost to time? They're just going to get lost, and no one's going to be able to play them or experience them again. You know, your kids in 20 years' time won't be able to plug a cartridge into a 3DS, and you won't be able to show them a game that you played when you were a kid, or you know, download a game on the Wii U that was digital only, because there'd be no way to play it unless Nintendo ports it to a new system.
I mean, the unfortunate thing too that I think a lot of proponents of physical media don't necessarily want to admit to themselves, or maybe are not even totally aware of, is that like all those things have a expiration date too, though, right? Like your physical games will break down.
People are aware of that. I think like
Sure.
Discs have disc rot, and like the cartridges, the contacts can wear out and things like that. It's significantly easier though to dump ISOs and ROMs from physical media like that than it is to crack DRM on a system.
Yeah, sure,
And
but people
I think
do
that's
it, right?
another way to like archive. Yeah, people do it, and you know the homebrew channel on the Wii U is demonstration of that. Like you can just get any game you want if you download the homebrew channel. So
from the entirety of Nintendo, from like NES through Wii U too, it's wild.
Yeah, and that's the thing that really hits me the hardest with this is, and I want to actually read a quote here from the Video Game History Foundation, which is a nonprofit that like their entire mission statement is to preserve video game history, right, and to preserve games specifically. And they put out a statement when Nintendo made this announcement that said, while it's unfortunate that people won't be able to purchase digital 3DS or Wii U games anymore, we understand the business reality that went into this decision. What we don't understand is what path Nintendo expects its fans to take should they wish to play these games in the future. As a paying member of the Entertainment Software Association, Nintendo actively funds lobbying that prevents even libraries from being able to provide legal access to these games. Not providing commercial access is understandable, but preventing institutional work to preserve these titles on top of that is actively destructive to video game history. We encourage ESA members like Nintendo to rethink their position on this issue and work with existing institutions to find a solution. And that is something that I think is the most important thing to me, right? Is like, I understand that like Nintendo is a business, and like Sierra said, right, like their focus is on what's next, not what they were doing 5 years ago or 10 years ago or longer, right? Unless they think they can cash in on it for nostalgia and it's convenient to do so. And that's their prerogative, right? Like they don't owe us to keep the 3DS store open forever. But I think the fact that they are so aggressive about taking down ROM sites, about, you know, again, what was pointed out here by the Video Game History Foundation, of even libraries preserving and making retro consoles available for people who want to look at them for historical value, or again, just to play the classics, right? Like, there's no other art form where you are expected to maintain decades old pieces of technology and hunt down original copies if you want to play the best thing, right? If you wanted to watch the best movies, 100 of the best movies ever made, right? You could go download Casablanca on Amazon Prime, right? For like $5.
To be fair, though, there are plenty of movies that have been lost to time, too.
No, of course.
So,
but
yeah.
But video games are younger than Hollywood, right? And like, yeah, like there's always going to be casualties of that. But Nintendo games are going to fall prey to that because Nintendo wants to make it, impossible for, again, a library, right, to provide something like that. Or, again, like an organization like this that its sole purpose is to preserve history, not to make profit, right, is like, I think that's a really bad look for them, and it's short-sighted, right? Like it doesn't celebrate their contributions to the industry, which are many, right? And I think that that's where I get upset from these companies. I don't expect them to do me any favors, but I think at the very least, right, if you're a business that is the entire thing that you do is create art and memories, and like Sierra made the point of like impact culture, you should want to participate in the preservation of that, right? So that I don't even forget 20 years, 200 years from now, right? If we're all still here, knock on wood, I would like for there to be a video game museum where people can go and see these things firsthand and see how the biggest, most fastest growing art form right now, what its roots are. You can do that for anything else, and like video games shouldn't be limited in that way because frankly Nintendo's being, like, I think, greedy and short-sighted. They're only thinking about the financial imperative of protecting their IP, not protecting people's access to that IP, which is just as important, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's always been just a slow way of them reintroducing a lot of these games too, because we're seeing some of them pop up here and there through either things like the Virtual Console, which has since passed since like the Wii U and 3DS, and it's getting replaced by their online service and stuff, and so.
But they do that Disney Vault shit where they're like, we'll roll it out, when we feel like it. And otherwise, I don't know. Good luck. Hope you bought that limited edition toy
Disney's
we put out 5 years ago.
Disney's abandoned that model as well. Like, they've embraced the fact that people want to be
We
able
got
to
Disney
watch
Plus!
whatever they want, and
Right?
you can just watch it. Yeah. Whereas
Just
now it
charge
very
me.
much is like Majora's Mask is just coming out, and we're gonna have to wait for the next. We still don't know the next batch of games for the N64 or the Sega Mega Drive Genesis because they've not been announced.
That also
So
is,
is
I
it-
think, makes it worse, right? The fact that like they just do it seemingly like whenever they fucking feel like it, right? And
Yeah.
like there's no expectation from us to be like, well, once a month I'll get this, and this is gonna come eventually, and you know, like I'm not asking for a lot here, Nintendo. I'm asking for you to allow me to give you money for a product. Isn't that what you do?
Yeah, hence like my initial thing that I said, like I knew this was going to happen eventually, and so I was like, you know what? I really got to take it on my own to keep a list of things that I'm like still interested in and still want to like have access to at some point for as long as, you know, I can until my console dies or, you know, the files just corrupt and it's gone, you know. But
But you'd
that's
at
like
least be
what
able
you have.
to buy another console and log into your Nintendo account for the time being, and then presumably all your stuff will still be there. Whereas, like the Wii, it was even more egregious because it was locked to the system that you bought the items on, and so you couldn't even transfer them away. So if you lost that console, if that broke, you were out of all of your games.
You could put it on a
Yeah.
Wii U, but not all the software from the Wii worked on the Wii
Yeah,
U,
it
so you
never
could do
moved-
that
it will move
too.
over.
Yeah. Oh, and I did want to say too, like now that things are more connected, I did want to point out one thing. I'm not sure how it will work past these dates, but the important dates to note here are that like May 23rd, you can't add funds with a credit card on the Wii U or 3DS, right? And then August 29th, you won't be able to add funds with an eShop card. But I will say, and I tested this out myself with like $10. I was like, you know what? I remember the money being the same as the Switch currency, right? Because they switched it since the 3DS and Wii U. They went away from like the Wii Shop point things that
Oh,
they
yeah.
had, and then they're like, you know what? We're dealing with money here. Let's just deal with money, right? So if you add funds to the Switch, you will have those funds available on your Wii U and 3DS. I don't know if that will be the case after those dates, but
Probably
I
not. Because I
I
imagine the
literally
storefront
tested it
will go
out.
down, so even if you had it, you could spend it on anything.
Yeah, but like if you added it on the Wii U and then bought a Switch later, presumably the money would still be there in your Nintendo account, so you could buy
Yeah,
stuff on the
yeah, it
Switch.
should be
If
connected.
for whatever reason you didn't have a Switch at the moment.
So I'm guessing that there will still be, and I'll definitely test it again after May 23rd specifically, but I'll add funds with my credit card on the Switch and see if that shows up in my 3DS and Wii U. Because right now it does. It does work. I did it with the $10, which is like the minimum you can add. And so, yeah.
Which,
I
if
mean,
it's all connected, makes me believe it's something to do with that checkout process that's just going to break
think
at some
so.
point.
Yeah, because I did start downloading some stuff too, and like the 3DS doesn't do the sales tax stuff at all, which has since changed here in the States, depending on like which state you're in and everything. Yeah, it just like these eShops don't work the same, and they're probably just not up to whatever consumer laws are there, and I don't think they really want to spend the time or money to update any of that, so that's probably really just it.
I mean,
know?
especially for the Wii
Yeah,
U,
I
it's
mean, it
probably
would be
frankly just not worth
thousands.
it. Who's buying anything on that console anymore, right? Like it's got to be pennies, you know, compared
Yeah.
to what they're dealing with on the Switch.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote down like one game that's like, oh, you might as well download this game instead of buying it physically because basically all the main Nintendo Wii U games have been ported to Switch. So,
Yeah, with very,
Yeah.
very rare exception.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a real shame they couldn't find a good workaround like Sony did there. Like Sony's solution was, we're not going to do a software update for these consoles. They're just too old, and we have zero desire to update to get it in line with the standards that we need to. However, we've got an online store. You know, just go on our website and you can just buy it. We'll just continue to allow you to buy the games on the online store, and then they'll show up on your account. I don't think it would have been difficult for Nintendo to do something like that. Like they already had the eShop online. You could have just made it so you could buy it and it gets added to your account. Because they're not turning the servers off to download the software. Because if you already bought the software, you can download it anyway. So it kind of just feels like a bit of a kick in the teeth, just for no good reason. Like you could have kept it going if you really wanted to.
That's the thing. They just didn't want to, and they know that they don't have to. And that's. I think it's funny because, it's Nintendo does some real heel shit sometimes, and like this is an example of that because they know that they have us and they can do whatever shitty thing that they want to do, and you'll be like, well, I still like playing games on the Switch though, and I'm excited for Breath of the Wild too, so all right, and it's like that's it, right? They know they can get away with it. The amount of people that care about it vehemently is a lot smaller than the amount of people who will not even be aware that this happens and are like, why would I buy games on that anyway? I'm playing on Switch, right? So that's
I do wonder how many people are going to be continuing to play on those systems though. Like how many kids are going to be playing on them and parents don't realize, or they just haven't updated your system.
I feel like that number gets smaller and smaller every year though, right? Like when I don't know, right?
Maybe,
they stopped selling 3DS.
The 3DS install base is massive. Like it's massive. It's the biggest selling handheld or console that Nintendo's made. It still is. I don't think the Switch has outsold it, and that's like a big install base to convert over to another console. And there's still games on there that people will be playing that just aren't available on something else. I think the Street Pass ceases to work as well at this date.
Yeah, that makes
what
sense.
I can tell from the FAQ, and it's just like, man, that sucks.
I love the Street Pass is like the one thing that I'm sad never came over to the Switch, because and when we go over our memories, I'll let you know why. But I loved the Street Pass, and that's such a bummer to see it go.
I always really liked it at I would like always bring my DS to conventions and stuff, and I would like turn it on and like just have the Street Pass on and be like, oh, let's ping everybody's thing as I'm walking around Comic-Con and stuff like
Conventions were huge. Every single night after Comic-Con, I'd be like, all right, time to look at 50 houses in my Animal Crossing thing for a few hours and then get 2 hours of sleep so I can go convention again.
Or like we'll get there when we get to the memories. I want to just get into these couple questions here from one of our Patreon producers, that Doc Guy, that kind of, I think, wraps up this part of the conversation, and then we can get to the waxing about all of the nice, warm, fuzzy memories we have with those consoles. So Doc wrote in and said, do you think the recent news that Nintendo will be discontinuing their Wii U and 3DS online storefronts means they will be bringing their retro titles to Switch? So I think, like we said with Wii U, they've brought almost everyone over. I think the ones that are left will, like, most of them are not worth bringing over, and the ones that are worth bringing over, I think, will come. At some point, right?
So Amiibo Festival is on the way. I'm really happy about that.
You know it.
Sure. For Chuy's sake, I hope so.
Look, I just need a version of that game that has some sort of credits in it. I tried to find credits on some research I was doing, and I was just like, who made this? Let me know. I want to know all of the names behind this. But they were afraid. They were afraid to put it out there.
But I think with the 3DS stuff, I would have no expectation of that. I think the problem with all of Nintendo's their last two generations of consoles, right, is that they were all based around a gimmick, and we don't have two screens on the Switch. So like there are a lot of 3DS games that you just can't play because the 3DS screen allowed for multiple inputs at the same time, and the Switch screen doesn't. So,
yeah, that's like the only reason they could work on the Wii U as well, right? Because you had the second screen and the gamepad. Did they work handheld on the Wii U though? Could you take some of those games and just play them on the gamepad?
Many games. Honestly, they tried to work in the Wii U gamepad for like everything, and I think it was honestly to the detriment of some games.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The 3DS specifically though, like the late titles on there, like completely dropped touchscreen stuff, completely dropped 3D stuff. So like the later titles for the 3DS, like that came out, I think those would be fine.
Any
Those
Pokemon
would
game
honestly
could come
work.
over. Animal Crossing could come over. Like, I think
Yeah.
a lot of the
Do
big
you
titles
need them though?
would come.
Like, do you need an Animal Crossing to come over when you've got, New Horizons? I don't
I
think
mean,
you
I'm a
need.
big New Leaf guy, so I would
As-
enjoy it. But I realize that at this point that New Horizons has added much of the content that was missing from New Leaf or anything that was in New Leaf is
I
New Leaf-
love
New
that
Leaf
the
is
two of you
huge.
were like,
People would love it.
well, yeah.
I do. I would love New Leaf, but they won't do it. They won't.
Mhm.
No, and, I think, do you need it? No. But would it be nice to have? Yes. Would it be good for Nintendo to give us the option to play their games that we want to, like, go back to? Yeah. Even if it's a small percentage of the audience, it's something you'd hope that they would figure out,
Mhm.
So, you know what? I'm going to move Doc copied Asobi's patented 3-question format. I'm going to move question 3 up, though, because I want to transition there. So the next question is, do you think they'll ever provide a way to consistently access their old software? I think yes, eventually, because I think that, like, game streaming is pretty much inevitable as the future of the medium. I was real skeptical about that for a long time, but I mean, Game Pass has shown how it can work. And we just this past week had a report that, physical game sales are becoming a really niche thing. And more, people are buying games digitally, and a lot of games are not even getting physical releases anymore and are just coming to every platform and, being accessible in other ways. So I think Nintendo will probably be the last holdout when it comes to that stuff, because they've always been behind the curve technologically, but the future comes for us all, right? Like, if that's how people want to buy games or experience games, right? Like, Nintendo will have to answer that at some point. And if that's the market, right? And, Xbox and PlayStation's whole thing is like, yeah, we sell hardware, but we have an app, and that's where you get all our games. And, it becomes more about your IP and how many games you can say are in your library and all that stuff. Well, Nintendo's got games on games on games on games going back longer than any of their competitors, right? Xbox can keep buying folks up and cheer up those numbers, but, Nintendo has a bench of IP, and the idea that they could, attract people to a service like that by being like, you like Fire Emblem, you like Animal Crossing, you like whatever. Every game's there. Every game we've ever made that can run on the platform runs on the platform. Period. The end. Would be a huge, huge value proposition. And I bet you'd see their stock jump up. Like, I think those are all things that when they feel like they have to play that card, they can play that card. And if their hand gets forced, they'll do it eventually. That's how they operate. They only do those kinds of things if they really feel like they have to compete.
Right.
I don't think they have to though at the moment, and I don't think they're going to feel like they have to for a long time. People seem happy enough with the Switch Online stuff that comes out, and I'm sure when the Game Boy stuff comes to it, there'll be people over the moon about it. And they're not the only platform holder that has a really terrible history of backwards compatibility. You just got to look to Sony's camp at the moment. It's in a terrible state, and they're seemingly doing something about it and rumored to be doing something about it. And I'd like that competition to maybe drive Nintendo to do a little bit more, but that was again driven by their threat, and they're seemingly looking at Xbox's camp and going, wow, the backwards compatibility stuff really got them some brownie points with fans, and maybe we could do the same thing, and hopefully Nintendo learns and follows suit. But
I think Xbox has done a really good job of monetizing old games
has done
too.
They've done an incredible job.
And you look at what Nintendo's doing this generation, right? Where, like, not that they've always put out software and, like, kept it to a premium, but it hasn't sold through the life of a console as consistently as it has on Switch. Like, the Switch library is really strong, and it has made them money hand over fist. Like, games that are 5 years old, right? Still selling really well. I think that the idea that, they could see that value by leveraging those things like to get people into a monthly subscription model rather than an annual one. It's an equation that makes sense if they can wrap their head around the technological angle of it, because like what would Nintendo lose by putting like every Nintendo published NES, Super Nintendo, all those games just out on a platform, and rather than trying to keep you on a hook for, give me $70 a year or whatever, right? Like, it's $5 a month, it's $10 a month.
Yeah, and I think they were doing it because they wanted to have a reason to keep you paying monthly. And then people grew bored and tired of the NES and the SNES. And so they came up with other carrots to give you, right? So you get DLC and you can pay a little bit more and you'll get that. And that's now only available as an annual subscription. So we've got no real need to do this drip feed stuff, because we could just give it all to you because you have to pay annually. If they keep following that model, I could see them doing it. There's no technical reason that the Switch couldn't play some of the more intensive games, like GameCube, for example. We know that they've got a GameCube emulator because Sunshine ran on it. And we know that they can even run Wii games because we had Galaxy running through it. So there's no really technical reason these games couldn't play. It just requires effort and research and development and time and investment and marketing, and whether they feel that is where their resources are best put at the moment. They might be wanting to focus on new IP or new video games, and they might just want to stop looking in the past, which I know sucks, but that seemingly is what Nintendo likes to do.
And I will say, I think the biggest difficulty across the board with video games is always the fact that, like, people bring up film as an example and that sort of thing, but I'm like, there is a standardized way that we've had for so long to consume that type of content, where, we had VHS tapes in the past, we've got DVDs, and now there's Blu-rays, but like across the board, if somebody prints off a movie on a DVD or a Blu-ray disc, somebody out there has a DVD player or a Blu-ray player that can just play those, and the difficulty with that with video games is just the fact that there's different hardware, just so much different hardware for things. And to some extent PC is good on that front. I mean, there's always different requirements for a PC and stuff as far as like what games it can run and everything, but like that's one system, I guess, piece of hardware where you can, for the most part, play what is available on there. But it's just
PC's had its limitations as well, though. Like, that's why GOG came into existence, like good old games. And they, you have to, if you want to run some of the old MS-DOS stuff, got to run it through DOSBox, because there's potentially needs this compatibility layer in order to be able to run on the latest systems.
Yeah, and there's just like, I don't really foresee there being like a standardized format for video games to work in at all. So I think we're just consistently going to run into that. But I will say, like, as far as like where Nintendo's going now, I do hope that their online infrastructure is some sort of sign that they're planning on moving this going forward. Like, how I hope that whatever the next console is, like if you're signed up for the Switch Online or whatever, like it just follows you there. It's like, okay, we're still going to have these NES games, these SNES games, all of these Nintendo 64 games, like as long as you have this subscription, right? So
God,
to some extent,
I really
I'm
hope
like,
so, dude.
please just like let it continue. Just let it continue and grow. And I'm just hoping that we're seeing the beginnings of it, and it's kind of rough because they're, obviously growing it very slowly and not adding things as quickly as we'd want them to. But I'm hoping that that's their eventual plan, to just make it available.
Fingers crossed.
Don't make me buy the same stuff every 10 years, please.
Yeah, and like, we let them get a pass on that for so long. Like it's like you look at PC or you look at Xbox, and like you have a library and it comes with you, and like that's it. And seemingly PlayStation's got it together on that now, because that's what it worked like with PS4 to PS5. We'll see what happens when the next console drops, but I feel like that should be the expectation at this point, where like if you're trying to keep me in your ecosystem, you know, you should honor the fact that I've invested in your ecosystem, right? Like I've been with you for how many console generations now, right? Like it doesn't feel good to be told like, oh, all that stuff that you invested in, yeah, it's obsolete, it's dead, you can't ever access it again. Oh, you want that game again? Here, buy it again for full price. It's the same. It's not a good feeling.
Even put the prices up of some of the Wii U ports. I remember that when they came over from Wii U to Switch, they chuck an extra $10 on it.
You can still, I'll tell you right now, you can get Pikmin 3 on the Wii U for $20.
It is better on Switch though.
Mad.
It is better on Switch, but
See,
you
that
can
I don't
get it
mind as
cheaper.
much. If you're gonna like make a better version of it and be like, all right, here, buy it new, I'm like,
Yeah, but like Tropical Freeze, for example, it's the exact same
it's
game.
the same
but it
port on
costs
3
$10 more.
consoles.
And you cannot get that one on Wii U for $20
They took
anymore.
it down?
They don't have that one on there.
Wow.
pretty sure they
okay.
don't.
That is shady shit. They took it
That's shady.
offline.
And that's
Go
that's
buy
the
it on
sign of saying
Switch.
like we know this version's not better.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Pikmin 3 though, the other one is better.
Do you know, I constantly think about how good the Breath of the Wild version on Wii U could have been with the gamepad. That was like one
Oh,
reason
yeah.
I was actually excited about the gamepad. Like, imagine just having your inventory there at all times, and you tap all the items you want to cook with, and it goes straight in the pot.
Yeah,
Instead,
but
it's just a black screen because that would make it look. I have a feature that's not on the Switch.
Steve, I got to be honest with you, and here we'll transition into the memory section here now. I went to bat for the Wii U for so long, but you know what? I don't care how cool it would have been to have my inventory. I would have still had to have held a Wii U gamepad, and that was a consistently awful experience. It never felt
Yeah.
good, you know. Like
It's like such a dust magnet too.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
had that like weird Fisher Price plastic where like it felt cheap,
Yes.
and you'd get fingerprints all over it. Go ahead, Sierra.
No, I was just echoing. Yeah, you're bolstering your sentiment. Like, yes.
It's
Oh my god, the plastic was so cheap. That's like one of the things I remember.
I was
the most.
constantly having to wipe the thing down. I remember I had like a chamois that I would just have on it, and it would every time I'd pick it, I'd like wipe all the dust
You've got
and
to give up at
fingerprints.
some point. You just got to start. You just got to be like, just accept it and embrace that this is going to be a scratchy, fingerprinty, greasy, horrible mess.
It's awful,
with this glossy
though.
black
I don't want
plastic. I
that.
know it's awful. Yeah, I'll never forget when Pixel told me that he'd tore one down and they're just full of metal weights to make it feel like it's actually got some substance to it. The rest of it's hollow plastic, but there's metal weights in there to make it heavier.
Sure.
Wow.
And it's not that heavy. Still,
I know, but it would
Really
imagine it would be
nothing
like
to
a
it.
feather if it didn't have any metal weights in there.
It's wild. I also I have like my dumbest memory about the Wii U, and this is like the last nasty thing I'll say about it, and then I'll say nice things. Is I remember I was using the gamepad and I stuck it down, and like I forget what it even was, but something like small like kind of like got knocked onto the thing, and it just killed the screen, and like there was no visible pixel damage, but it wouldn't take any tap input anymore, and I had to like send it to Nintendo, and I was like, what are you kidding me? I think it was like a cat toy hit it or something. I was like, this is ridiculous.
God.
Oh my
oh
god.
no.
It's like
Those gamepads are like paired to the console as well, aren't they? So you
Yeah.
can't just get one from another console because it won't work, which
I-
makes no sense.
I couldn't even
whatsoever.
turn it on. Like I couldn't even play games that
Wow.
didn't need the gamepad. So it was frustrating. I think that the Wii U is like Nintendo's biggest misstep in regard to them trying to be like innovative, right? Like they went from one of their most trend-setting console, the Wii, to then being like, people like tablets, right? Yeah, let's try one of those.
Oh god!
No-
yeah.
No thought behind it, you know? It was like the iPad's really, but you know, my niece got an iPad. She's always playing on that thing. Why don't we, it's like, what are we doing here, you know? Like,
Thick
Yeah.
iPad.
It's like, what if we had an iPad, but you couldn't move it even 5 feet away from a brick in your living room? Would that be cool? Drove me nuts. Like, you couldn't even move one room away. I remember I would like pick it up and go in one room over to keep playing my game, and then be like, great, crap, I have to put it down because it's getting disconnected.
Oh wow, I had no idea. Like I believed the promise, right, that I would be able to take it up to my bed, and the TV's being used in the in the lounge. I'm going to take it up to bed,
Not
and
a
I'll
chance.
carry on playing.
That commercial
Oh,
of that
no.
guy playing on the pot, it's fake.
Absolutely lie.
False advertising.
Yeah.
So aside from that, yeah, I mean, I think the thing that I think of the most with the Wii U is using it as like a second screen experience type device, because like it was out pre-smart TVs, and like you look at, Nintendo did the 3DS and Wii U memories thing, and Chuy and I both ran ours, and my Wii U memories are all media things. It's Netflix, let's see, 1,719 hours, and then Hulu, and then YouTube were my top 3 most used apps on the Wii U.
Oh my god.
And it's funny because the main reason that those are so high is I remember when I was in college, I had my Wii U in my bedroom, and the primary thing I would do on it was watch TV while I was playing my 3DS or playing something on my laptop or something. And I would fall asleep to Netflix or whatever with it. And like that was where I got the most use out of it, honestly. I mean, aside from that, there was a
TV remote as well, I expect.
Yeah, I used it for that. I used it as a universal remote, and I definitely liked using it for retro games. Like that was something that I had a lot of fun with. I remember in the early days when there was like nothing to play, they had this program where they sold a bunch of NES games for like 30 cents. And I remember I had like Balloon Fight and Punch Out and F-Zero and, all of these retro titles, some of which I had, played and wanted to futz around with, and some I had never ever touched before, and I got really, really into. Like, I played a ton of Balloon Fight and a ton of Punch Out, and that's like how I got familiar with those at all, So like, I definitely had fun with it, but I think between the fact that like where I was as a gamer, right? Like I was in school and I wasn't spending as much time like doing couch co-op stuff. So like I didn't play a ton of Smash on it. Like that's probably the Smash game I've played the least, even though I really did like it. Just because I didn't have a community I was playing with like that. And most of my time was like on PlayStation 4, just because I felt like Nintendo's, a lot of their offerings were not striking a chord with me, and at least on Wii U enough. Like when I had a super, super limited gaming budget, right? It was like, do I want to buy this, open world game I can spend 40 to 60 hours with and get a couple months out of? Or do I want to grab Yoshi's Woolly World that I'll be done with in a weekend? And, that was tough for me. It's like games like Pikmin 3, I only played on Switch, even though I had a Wii U, because it was like, well, it's this or Dragon Age this year, right? And like, this is the game I can afford for 4 months. So, I had to like pick and choose, and the Wii U ended up losing that equation more often than not. So
Yeah,
Chuy, what about you? You played your Wii U a lot as a Splatoon guy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it seems like you got more use out of yours for just watching Netflix on it. But yeah, no, I got my Wii U kind of late. I was always sad that I did, because by the time I got mine, that little Animal Crossing Plaza app was no longer available. Already a fatality of the digital space, right? But yeah, I played tons of Splatoon, and I guess like right behind those are Netflix and Hulu and everything. But I did a decent job getting through games on the Wii U. Basically everything though that I've finished there has come to Switch too. So
Yeah.
it's like all of the experiences there I feel can still be had, but I think the place where it really shines is its virtual console. for sure.
Yeah.
There are just so many things on there, especially if you like enjoy Game Boy Advance stuff that like is kind of hard to find and get or expensive to get, you know.
Even
Final
that was
The
weird,
only
though,
way
'cause
you
there
could
was-
play,
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
I said the only way you could play that on your TV officially with physical media is with a Game Boy player on a
On the
GameCube,
GameCube.
Yeah.
and those are
Which-
not cheap either.
Yeah, specifically that disc, right? To actually run
Yeah.
it. Yeah, so it
Well, I was just gonna say, there's the Oh wait, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Oh, yeah, no, just like all the virtual console stuff, because it has like, there's a good mix of things where it's got GBA, it's got N64, it's got DS, it's got Wii. So, I don't know. And then, all the NES and SNES stuff too. So it's like the one digital way that you could actually buy these things instead of subscribing to Switch Online,
I remember being a little frustrated by the Wii U's virtual console though, because there was a lot of things that were brought to it for the first time, but there was so much from the Wii virtual console that wasn't there or wasn't compatible, and some like functionality that was really awesome on the Wii's virtual console, like the ability to use GameCube controller as like a default, right, for a lot of games, wasn't there, and it made some games like way harder to play, which was definitely like tough. So even that had caveats that were unfortunate,
And even beyond that too, like their emulation on the Wii U is not the best. Games are kind of darker on there. The colors are just like not quite
Yeah,
right
that's
on
their
it.
like solution to combating epilepsy issues. Whereas now on the Switch, to combat it, they actually patch the games. They like mod them. So in I think it's Ocarina of Time, it usually does 3 flashes on the N64. Yeah, now only does 1. And to combat it on the Wii U, they darkened the picture to try and alleviate the chance of someone having a
Wild.
seizure.
What if we just
Don't
make the
think it
entire
works.
game darker to alleviate
Yeah.
this one scene? Like,
I
just make the
mean,
scene darker. What are you kidding
People
me?
can adjust their screen brightness at that point,
This is nuts.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, just the things that they did to it, just it's not quite right on a lot of them. But as far as like them being accessible in there to play, you can play them, and that's great.
Yeah.
Were they reasonably priced? Because I remember on the Wii they were pretty decent in cost. It wasn't like you were
It was-
spending $20.
It was all the same
Yeah.
price point, I think, right? Like N64 games were like $10, and then like the gen before that was like usually like $8, I think, and then like the NES stuff was like $5.
Yeah, basically, like it all started at like 5 and would go up $1 depending on what it was. I think GBA things were like $6 or 6 or 7, and then DS was like $8, and then yeah, it was all weird. But there are tons of cool things to get on there. So many. I have a huge list, but we can get into that a little later if any of
Sure.
you want to talk Wii U memories.
Yeah, I'm curious as to Sierra's like history with both of the consoles because I know our history. So obviously I have none. So, it'd be good to hear from Sierra.
Oh yeah, I remember we got the Wii U when it dropped. The first game we started playing was the Super Mario Brothers for Wii U, and
That
I
game's
remember
good.
it was a good game. Like I will say, like I enjoyed playing it. It's just like the nature of the console, required me to be in like my in my living room, and like that's not at that point in my life, like how old I was, and, like what I was doing, like dating and stuff. Like I wasn't home a lot, so I
Yeah.
didn't get to enjoy it as much as I did per se my 3DS, 2DS, what have you. I remember playing that. I thought that like that game ran pretty well, and like Pokken Tournament was really cool. That was like the first time Pokemon ever released a fighting game like that, and I don't think they've never done anything like that again.
And like I remember they had like
But-
those cool controllers that you could get that were like the ones from the arcade
Yeah.
the ones they had in
Yeah.
Japan and everything. It was like that was really neat. That game was
Absolutely.
gorgeous too for a
It
Wii U game.
was.
It looked great.
Didn't Bandai Namco do that one?
Yeah, it was the
Yeah.
Tekken team.
Yeah, that's what that explains everything. So yeah, I liked the Wii U. I wasn't crazy about it, but I also didn't have any qualms with it. Like it was just kind of like there. But that's the thing; it was just kind of there. It wasn't
Yeah.
like the Wii where it revolutionized the way people played games. And I mean it is a tough act to follow. So
Yeah,
the
that's for sure.
3DS. The 3DS, I definitely have a lot of nostalgia for now, which is so weird that you can say now about the 3DS, 2DS. Yeah, like my 2DS was gifted to me, and then like the second I was like, oh, I can play games on the go again. I picked up so many, Pokemon, Soul Silver, what else? X and Y, like Animal Crossing, New Leaf. I hadn't played another Animal Crossing game since the GameCube version, so I just got completely lost in that game. What else? I believe I picked up Yellow. I don't know that I ever
God, I was
finished it.
so stoked when they brought those to the eShop. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Insane. And
I'm surprised you didn't
yeah.
get any of the physical ones. Did they do them in the US? Like they did a replica
think they
of
did.
the
No.
Game Boy
I don't think they
boxes.
did.
Oh wait,
in
no,
the
yeah, I don't
UK?
think we got them in the US. Yeah, and I didn't
Oh,
have
they
the
were
money
so
to
cool.
import it.
Of course. we
Yeah,
did.
I remember seeing them in Smith's Toys, and they were like selling them off for like £5. And I was like, should I get these? I don't even have a 3DS,
Yeah.
and I really regret not getting them at this point
should have.
because the boxes, they had like that shiny like Game Boy bit down the side. Oh, they look so good.
My childhood.
I want to buy a graded copy of those games so bad. I want like a good boxed version of Blue so bad.
One day. Maybe
One day.
one day. The prices will be lower than $500. So yeah, like oh my gosh, I have it. Why don't I can literally just pull out. Yeah, I had so many. I have a Digimon game I never finished. I started
one
Digimon
did you
World
get?
Dusk.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I have that one too.
I have a lot of memories of like 3DS, 2DS games were affordable enough back then to where like on the weekends when I would like go out video game shopping or like going to pawn shops with my ex, like we would buy a lot of video games. So yeah,
It's a DS, right? Yeah, for
the
you audio
widescreen
folks,
DS.
I got a PS Vita. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
Don't worry, I have my DS over here too.
Oh, Pokemon Black, one of my favorite Pokemon games. Like I have so much, like a lot of games, and like it stinks that one day physical will not be either available or as relevant, because I love this. I love being able to physically hold them in my hands. But yeah, there's so many good games that came out for 3DS. So 3DS, I will definitely sorely miss. And I've heard rumors too that like these cartridges have started to break down. So I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, which one of mine are gonna go first?
Yeah, I remember the first time I had that happen with a Game Boy game where like I went to go boot up my Pokemon Silver after a couple years and it was like the battery inside died so it can't keep a save anymore, and I was like gutted, absolutely
You
gutted.
can swap those out very easily.
Yeah,
though.
but
It's
my
literally
save's
just
already
one
gone
screw.
though. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like a
Yeah.
file I
Experience
I had
is
over
done.
1,000 hours in that game, Steve. Like that was my job. And yeah, like I remember when that happened, I was like, oh, and I remember I told the story once of how I lost my first Animal Crossing town too. And I was like, physical media, it's worthless. It's all gonna get lost in the ether. It doesn't matter.
I mean, the best thing is just to have backups on backups, right?
Yeah.
True.
That's easier when you have digital, though. You can make cloud backups of everything now, Save them in the cloud. The
Well,
cloud,
until they close
the cloud
the
will
store
always be
down.
there. No.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they close the store
I
down and shut
know.
the cloud off, and your
I'll
save's
dump
gone
the save.
forever.
Dump it on the computer, save
Yeah.
it, you know?
I know. I gotta learn how to
Can't
do
do that with
that
your
stuff.
Animal Crossing island, though.
I really
That
gotta
was
learn how to do
special.
that stuff. I like
Or Mr. Nogami says no. Both Splatoon and Animal Crossing on Switch at first were like no cloud saves, and
No
I don't think
clouds.
there are cloud saves for Splatoon 2 yet. Still,
No, there isn't. No, it
Yeah.
was like because someone's gonna hack it and say that they're like
Yeah.
a higher rank
It's
than they
Nogami.
were.
First of all, who
It's Nogami.
cares? Right?
Yeah, I
Like,
know.
I would rather have my progress be saved than care if somebody's cheating at rising through the ranks in Splatoon. Have some anti-cheating software, Nintendo. Like,
Yeah, really.
learn how to run an online game. Ridiculous. But yeah, I was definitely like you, Sierra. I put a lot more time in with my 3DS. It was certainly not like my dominant console. I was surprised to see that like my total playtime, it looks like it was only like 616 hours across 29 titles. So it makes sense because most of my time on my 3DS was spent with Pokemon. Pokemon X was my number one game at 270 hours, and that is pretty much all breeding Pokemon and doing battles
Right.
on Smokin'. Because that was that was my, Steve, we talk about TV games. That was my go-to TV game for always, Jump in the chat room on Cerebi and be like, who wants a battle? Let's go, baby. Because there was no matchmaking.
true.
I
had 2,290 hours on my 3DS. Apparently 989 of those were for Animal Crossing.
real quick.
Totally.
Who's surprised by
Maybe.
that? Who's surprised by that information?
That's honestly
Maybe.
lower because I did play that game on multiple consoles, so I don't think it got a complete picture.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You're a madman.
And then the next one after that is the Street Pass Me Plaza. I played those games like no other. I even paid for like all the extra little games on there too because they're just
Make
so
sure you
fun
got
to
them
play.
because those are the ones you can't re-download. Can't
Yeah.
re-download any like in-game content.
Yeah, luckily I got a huge like 32 gigabyte SD card in there,
You're set.
so I'm pretty set on having all of this stuff on there. But yeah, and then after that, I guess Pokemon Y for me was the next one. I don't know why that one ended up getting played so much on my 3DS, but I guess it did.
I was sure both of you said you didn't really like that generation. Am I thinking
Oh,
of a
I
different
liked it.
generation?
I don't like Gen 5 very much, which is black and white.
Okay.
That's a whole conversation for another day. I believe Sarah, you said that was one of your favorites, so maybe we'll have to bring you
Yeah.
back for that conversation.
Yeah, we need to get Sierra on and rank Pokemon games.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that. Let's
Oh yeah,
go.
we
That'll be
definitely did
fun.
ranks
Yeah. So, yeah, the other games that were like near the top of my list were Animal Crossing and then Smash on 3DS, which I did play a good amount of as well. So yeah, I enjoyed my time with
The
the
world's
3DS.
worst title, though. Smash for Nintendo 3DS.
So this is
Smash
why I'm
the
so
number
glad that we
4.
just have the Switch now, right? One platform, you can just have a name and not be like Smash Brothers for Wii U and 3DS. It's like, no, please stop
Yeah.
it.
I can't even imagine playing Smash on like a 3DS. I never bought it for the handheld.
It was,
Console.
You know what?
it was tough.
It was like the little joystick killer. You know, the little circle pad
Right.
thing on
Oh, God.
DSs.
well, and
I saw
I
so many of those like snapped off on.
I only
like,
ever
Reddit.
had a launch one, so look how freaking tiny the screen is. Like,
Oh my god.
You got no little like nubbin on the right hand side either.
no. They had the edition that you could buy for Kid Icarus Uprising, but you could,
Psychopath Pro, yeah.
yeah. How would you like to spend $25 to add a thing we probably should have put on it in the first place? Yes,
I
it
bet
only
they're
works
not
with one game.
$25 anymore.
Yeah,
Bet they're pricey.
Yeah.
the things that you kick yourself about not buying later. But yeah, because that game's like unplayable if you don't own one of those things, which is a super fun thing. But yeah, so I guess we can get into the list of games we recommend now here for like the ones for everybody to snag before the servers go down. We got a bunch of comments from a bunch of you folks at home as well. So we'll get into some of your picks. But Chuy, you got a long list, so I'm gonna give us the quick hits.
All right. I've separated them by Wii U and 3DS, and then some of these are like download-only titles. The others are Virtual Console, and then others are ones that you can find physically, but you might as well just download it. For Wii U, download only. I'm not too attached to these games, but I was like, oh, there's some that should probably be mentioned here. So Pushmo World, Dr. Luigi, NES Remix 1 and 2, Pokemon Rumble U, and Picross 3D. I haven't played Picross 3D, but I do have Picross 3D Round 2 on 3DS, and that's a download-only title there as well, and I really love it. So it's got... sometimes I go on YouTube and just listen to that soundtrack.
Where is NES Remix on Switch? Like, why
I
did
don't
they never
know.
bring that over? It's just
I feel like that's something they should just bring. Like, make it a separate download thing available for online people.
yeah, throw it on NSO.
Just throw it on there. Virtual Console for Wii U. They have Animal Crossing Wild World. That one is one of the few games that Europe got way before us. But for a long time, only the Wii U eShop in Europe and UK had Wild World on there. And
Really, that's
now,
so funny.
yeah. I was like, do I buy like a European Wii U to get this, or I waited.
It was
it out
still region
eventually.
locked. Oh my god, I
Yeah,
forgot
it was
about
still
that.
region locked and everything.
That's insane.
I waited it out. They brought it to the US, so that's good. There's so many Mario games, all of like the Mario Advance World 1, 2, 3, 4, all of them are there. Then they have some Mario Karts 64 Advanced. Yeah, just a bunch of them. They have so many sports Mario games, Sluggers, Strikers Charge, those are the Wii ones. They have golf, tennis, hoops, different iterations of those. Paper
Gotta get
Mario.
it for hoops, Pete. Gotta get it for hoops.
I
Yeah,
know.
it has hoops. 3-on-3. 3-on-3 if you want it. It's the DS one. Paper Mario, they have Super Paper Mario and Paper Mario 64, which, if you have the Switch Online, you can play that. Galaxy 1 and 2, if those are like hard to find, those Wii games, and even like, we got Mario Galaxy on Switch, but not the second one. That's available
weird.
there. And then Zelda, I wrote down Minish Cap because that's one that gets overlooked a lot.
I
and
love
that's on
Minish
there.
Cap. Minish Cap
So
is
good.
such a delightful game.
Capcom nailed it.
I started
So-
playing it. It's on my list of ones I really want to stream. So I'm gonna put it on
Yeah.
the list, I think, for patrons to
Yeah,
vote
it's
on.
solid. Yeah, it's a
Steve
good
show where he
experience.
just plays Game Boy Advance games.
I love it. It's great.
I'm in.
Yeah, Pokemon. They've got Snap, the N64 one, which is kind of expensive if you get the 64 cart, but it's out there. Pinball, the Ruby and Sapphire GBA game. They have all of the Pokemon Ranger games, all three of them. I
I've
really
never
liked
played
the
those.
first-
I might need to snag
Me
those
neither.
because I've thought about streaming that.
I loved the first one. That's the only one I played, but I remember getting Manaphy through it. That was cool. And then let's see, where was I? Oh, all of these old Fire Emblem games, like the GBA ones and the DS one, those are available there. WarioWare has some cool stuff on there, the micro games, and I think they have Touched as well. That one's also available on the 3DS. I don't remember if the micro games one is. Pikmin 1 and 2, the Wii versions, the optimized versions of those games, the pointer controls and everything, those are on
Yeah.
there. Golden Sun 1 and 2. Now those are going to be very expensive if you try to get the carts for those, and they're $8 here. Good deal. Rhythm Heaven Fever. This one I almost missed, but this is a really expensive Wii game now. Like if you look for the disc for it, I think I looked it up and I was like, oh, $90 for this?
Oh,
Sure, I'll pay 20. Harvest Moon, they have tons of Harvest Moon games. They have the original, they have Harvest Moon 64, they have some of the Game Boy Advance ones. All of the Harvest, like Harvest Moon Game Boy Color games are on the 3DS eShop. That's pretty cool. And then I had to put this one because we talked about it last week, and this is worth playing. Final Fantasy Tactics Advance.
Absolutely. Love that game.
So good.
Absolute classic.
Yeah, get it for like $7. It's a steal. It's such a good game. And then for my might as well download title, I mean, honestly, I looked up the price. You could still get a disc for this one, Xenoblade Chronicles X. You can still find that for retail. But the thing that people have pointed out is like there's a massive like 10 gigabyte download that makes the game just run better. Otherwise it's like all the loading times are slow. It's kind of choppy. So that is something you can download and benefit from. And then for 3DS, it's a little bit of a smaller list, so it won't go too long. The download-only games are like really premium here, I'd say. Pocket Card Jockey, super awesome. I already mentioned P-Cross 3D, round 2, really good. Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix is solid. It's so good. It's just like a collection of really awesome legacy Rhythm Heaven games. I guess little challenges that they had there, and then a bunch of new ones too. So it's a great one. Only came out digitally here in North America, which is a bummer. Pokemon has a bunch of different like free to play ones: Shuffle, Picross, Rumble World. Pokemon Bank is worth having, and transferring your Pokemon over to Pokemon Home.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I still have
Don't worry,
some
Pete.
left
This
over.
one's gonna
that,
stay. They've said this one's sticking around, so you'll be able to use
Good.
it after the deadline, I
For
believe.
who knows how long. I think it's worth
Yeah.
it to move to home at this point.
Yeah.
So
right.
I'm doing it before. So if you haven't, Pokemon Bank, good one. I have Pokemon from like, I don't even know how long. Probably like my Emerald version
Yeah.
on there.
I have some from Gen 3.
Wow.
Yeah. Mario Golf is one that I want to mention because World Tour, the Mario Golf that came out on 3DS, has really good DLC, really good package on there. A bunch of courses that you'll just not have access to, even if you buy the retail copy at this point. So that one is pretty cool. And then Virtual Console has so many cool things on 3DS. I just quickly listed just like some of my favorites: the Zelda Oracle games, Mario Tennis, WarioWare Touched once again, and then Pokemon Gens 1 through 2, all of them, red, blue, yellow, silver, gold, crystal, they're all there. What else could you ask for? And then the TCG game. Oh, I love Pokemon
God, I
trading card
love
games.
that game.
And then Pokemon Battle Trozei, I don't know how people like to pronounce it. That is also there. That one actually might just be a download only game. I don't think it was like a virtual console one. And then last but not least, the might as well download games. Fire Emblem Fates, specifically the DLC packages for Revelations. You can get a retail copy of Conquest and a retail copy of what was the other one called in Fates? Birthright. Conquest and Birthright, those exist on a cartridge. The Revelations DLC does not, unless you got the special edition that has all 3 games on it. That's very expensive now. So if you bought any of those, you can download the DLC for both the other games for $40 total. So yeah, it's you have to get that one digitally. The other one, Fantasy Life, that's just a hard game to find physically, also very expensive and really fun. I love that one.
My man did his research, and I appreciate that.
I wanted to make sure people had plenty to choose from, and I really wanted to focus in on like the ones that are like download these, because there are some options with a lot of the other games, but there's so many that are just going to be like kind of gone for a while.
Yeah. Any that you want to throw in there, Sierra?
I'm grabbing all the Pokemon stuff. That's what I'm doing. I will say though, was it Puzzle Challenge on Virtual Console or no?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
I forget
yeah,
if it's
that
on
is.
the
I
Wii
want
U
that
one
Real
or the
bad.
3DS. Yeah, it might be on both, but
I think it's
definitely.
just on. Well, that you're talking about the N64 one, right? Or the Game Boy one?
The Game Boy one.
I think the Game Boy one.
It might be on both then. Or that might just be on 3DS, actually. I definitely have it on my 3DS. I've played a bunch of it.
What about Pokemon Conquest? Because since Smilky told me about that game,
not on there.
I can't get out of my head.
No, you have to track down a physical copy of that one.
Oh, that's gutting.
Yeah, so my list is a lot shorter, and Chuy hit a couple of the ones that I would have talked about, so I'll keep it short. I think on Wii U, one to call out right now, at least, is the Metroid Prime trilogy. Obviously, we have, the worst kept secret that there is a version of that in development for Switch, but if you're trying to get your hands on it,
it's either that or it's just nonsense and there isn't actually.
Right, and we don't know, right? So if you want the best way to play those games before Metroid Prime 4, this is your way to do it. So I would probably consider grabbing that. Similarly, Wind Waker HD, a game that I feel pretty confident will eventually come to Switch, but hey, it's been years and it still isn't here. So again, that was one of the best experiences on Wii U for my money. That's a beautiful, beautiful remaster. So yeah, if you've never played Wind Waker, or if you want the definitive way to play it, because they really made some good quality of life changes to that version as well.
Leaving out Twilight Princess though.
Yeah, I don't like that game.
Just done a day. So that's terrible.
I do not like that game, so that's it has its fans. I won't sling shade at it, but it's not for me. On the 3DS side of things, I have all the Pokemon titles as well, right? So that's X and Y and Sun and Moon. You're probably better off getting Ultra Sun and Moon, right? If you're gonna get one or the other. I don't care for the Gen 3 remakes, so they are not on this list. Chuy already hit the retro titles. Super Mario 3D Land is a game I would call out. I think that's one of the best games on 3DS. That is one of that was my favorite Mario game in years. I really, really connected with that one. And it's got like a really good post game thing as well, where like there's some really, really fun, challenging levels, and there's a lot of content in that game. So that's one I think is well worth dusting off your 3DS for if you're in the mood for a Mario experience that you haven't checked out before. Kingdom Hearts 3D Dream Drop Distance is another one where that's like very key to the Kingdom Hearts storyline. It's the bridge between Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3. So again, that's literally the only place you can play that title. Although, no, now that I think about it, I think that might actually be in the collection.
Is it in like 1.5 or 2.5?
I think you're correct about that. It's in one of those collections. But even
so, you can spend $60 and play it in the cloud on Switch now.
That's true. But even so, if you want to play it in the original form factor on that hardware, it did have some hardware specific features. So yeah, maybe worth checking out there. Bravely Default is one of my favorite games on that console by a lot. I love that battle system. The story's a little bloated, but it's a really special game. And I think if you like turn-based RPGs and you want kind of a fresh system and something that's a little bit different than like your Final Fantasies or your Pokemon or even like Persona, Bravely Default really had something special going on there. I've never played
the second one.
I never played the second one, and I never got
Bravely
around to.
Second.
There's Bravely Second, and then there's Bravely Default 2. So I've not played either of those. The original is only the only one that I got my hands on. This is one that I've never played, but it feels worth calling out, is Metroid Samus Returns. That was worked on by Mercury Storm, who's the team behind Dread. So if you want to kind of see the DNA of that game and, the kind of, a lot of the innovations in Dread, some of them come from this game. So if you want to kind of get your hands on that.
I really want to play that game. I really, really want to play that game. I'm on the hook for Metroid now.
You're a real stan now, I know. You played 2 games.
And I beat both of them. I was really proud of myself when I beat Metroid Fusion. That was tough, the end of that game.
Hell yeah. Well, maybe you'll have to grab this one. And then you're going to want to get A Link Between Worlds. That is, the, I think, definitive Zelda experience on 3DS. Of course, you have the Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask ports. Those are the best versions of those games by a lot.
That's what I missed.
And then Star Fox 64's 3DS port as well is, I think, the best version of that game. And then two other games that I never played, but that are sworn by from people that I know who loved them are Fire Emblem Awakening and Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. Are both games you can only play on that platform.
Otherwise known as Luigi's Mansion 2 in Europe.
Right.
It's so strange that you got like a randomly title.
It really is.
But,
Usually you guys get the random title.
Yeah.
Lilac Wars 3DS.
Yeah. Do you know it's not called Lilac Wars on the 3DS, which makes no sense because
Sure.
no one knew what Star Fox 64 was.
Great.
We never had it.
What a weird thing.
I don't understand why it makes more sense to call it that than just call it Star Fox regardless. Like if you haven't had...
Apparently,
Did you have a Lilac Wars before?
It was Lilac Wars on the N64.
Oh.
Apparently, it was a copyright thing that there was a satellite company called Star Fox, and so they couldn't call it that.
So real quick, we got a amazing email from one of our Patreon supporters, Smilky Shake, who wrote in with a bunch of games that they loved and explanations about some of them. We don't have time to read the whole thing, so I'm going to just get through a couple of the highlights because we still got some Ring Fit February to talk about, and it's getting late for Steve across the pond over there. So here's some of the highlights from Smilky Shake's list. The Etrian Odyssey games are absolutely worth your time and money. They're regularly on sale, and staying on the theme of Etrian, they also said that they 100% recommend Persona Q and Persona Q2, which are crossover games between Persona and Etrian Odyssey. I've heard a lot of good things about those games. There's the Dragon Quest VII and Dragon Quest VIII port. 7 was like a full remake of that game, which was originally, I believe, on the PlayStation. So that's probably the definitive way to play that game as well. They also called out Ever Oasis, which was a game from Grezzo, who is, of course, the team you'd probably know from Link's Awakening. So yeah, great if you want to see. What's that?
Yeah.
And Metopia.
And Metopia, that's true.
Honestly,
see if you want to see
Blockbuster game.
the best game of the year, some might say. You can check out that's an original IP from them.
Yeah, it should be in my might as well download list too, because getting a physical is expensive of that one too.
We also had Yoshi's Woolly World was on Wii U, but it's at its best on 3DS with extra content and all those short yarn Yoshi films. Hey Pikmin was criminally overlooked. It's a fun 2D Pikmin platformer and uses Pikmin well. Fans of Monster Hunter might want to grab Monster Hunter Stories, as physical copies are very expensive, but the game is also available on mobile, so still very available. WarioWare Gold is fantastic. A couple other callouts that Chuy said, like Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix it just says that's peak Rhythm Heaven. And then Shin Megami Tensei's got a bunch of games over there. There's Soul Hackers 2. And there's like a remake of Soul Hackers 1 coming out. We have Shin Megami Tensei 4 and Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse, which was its sequel. Bunch of other stuff. We had the Box Boy games. There's like 3 or 4 of those, excuse me. And then there's the Sega 3D Classics, which a bunch of those have the updated line now on Switch. So you can probably get a couple of those on Switch, but I think there are 1 or 2 on this list that are not available. So plenty there to work off of. So
I can't imagine Puyo Puyo with the stereoscopic 3D. Like, how does that work? Does it just like float in front of your face?
Yeah.
The beans coming down.
Even like Sonic with stereoscopic 3D seems that would be odd.
Sickening.
Yeah.
I didn't like the 3D.
I never played with the 3D on.
It got a lot better with the new models, the new 3DS and I guess the new 2DS didn't do it, but the new 3DS and the XL, those had actual like face following in it, so it wouldn't mess up so easily. It was better.
Okay, there you go. So I think that is a fairly comprehensive list of titles that you should grab on these consoles while you still can. I hope you grab whatever titles here like stuck out to you, because like you said, there's not really going to be many options for you moving on. And I think this is a good place to pull the last question from that Guy's 3 questions from Asobi's patented 3-question formula, which is, does this change your thoughts on justification regarding private archival of older software from Nintendo? And it doesn't, because I've felt pretty consistently about that, where I think if a game is not available for you to purchase legally, you know, hey, I'm not going to advocate stealing, but game preservation, right? That's the name of the game.
100%.
Nintendo wants your dollar. They should give you a way to get it.
Metroid. Yeah, I mean, I would have played Metroid Fusion if it was available on Switch Online, or I could have bought it anywhere. I couldn't. There was no way I could have played it otherwise, so I emulated it, and I'm glad I did because it was a phenomenal game.
Good. I'm lazy, and there's plenty of people who don't know how to emulate games or don't have the time to learn. So, it would be nice if they would just provide these games or purchase somehow, but if they're not, and folks can exercise that option, they're going to, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Nope. I mean, if Nintendo literally gives us no other option, what do they expect?
Yeah. And then that even goes like deeper into like all the games that they haven't made available up until now. I mean, Mother 3 is the obvious example too, but I'm personally waiting for a translation of the Animal Crossing or Animal Forest E+, which was like the final best version of the GameCube Animal Crossing. There's no translation for that unless you emulate it and download the translation pack that somebody made.
I want the N64 version. I want to just try it. I want to see what it was like.
Yeah.
So anyway, good luck out there. And, play these games however you can, by any means necessary, is my attitude on that one. All right, so let's close out the show by checking in on our progress for Ring Fit February. We are here at week 3. We have 1 week to go before the challenge is up. So last week, I know we had all kind of done our check-ins, and I know Chuy and Sierra had both missed one day. Steve and I hadn't yet. I know that we have both missed one day now since. So I
was gutted. I was so gutted. I had a plan today. I was going to do it all, and then I had a bakery mishap where my fridge shelf broke with a cake I was icing on it, and it went straight in the back of the fridge. So I had to solve that, and then we had to I know it was devastating, Sierra. And then I had to then we had to record. It's like this whole day has been hell, so I have not been able to exercise today. But I'm gonna try and do it twice tomorrow. So I think I'm gonna try and exercise at lunch, and I'm gonna try and exercise after work.
Yeah.
And hopefully that makes up for it. I feel bad because I really, really didn't want to miss a day. I wanted to commit and do it, and I was just like, there was just no way today. It's 1:30 in the morning now, and there's no way I could have done it. There's just no way.
Yeah. I mean, it happens, bud. It's like you can't you're only human, right? Like stuff's gonna happen, and that's very much what I ran into. Where it was like on Saturday, I had like a small get together at my place for my fiance Sarah's birthday, and like her sister came over in the morning, and was like setting up, and then I was cooking, and by the time everybody was out of my house, it was like minutes to midnight, and I was like, all right, I guess this one's a wash, right? Like I had like, we had this like punch that we made and everything. I was like, I'm not gonna do 10 minutes of Ring Fit with a belly full of booze. Like, no thanks.
Right.
Like, not at all.
That's for the last day.
Yeah, as the send off. And it was one of those things where like I woke up at 8, and from the minute I was up, I was doing things for that, and then I had guests. So very similar to like the thing that got you messed up, Chuy, where it's just like, what am I gonna go abandon my fiance's birthday party so that I can do some Ring Fit? Like, no, I think we'll call it a wash on this one. So
I'm going to the bathroom for 20 minutes? Question mark. I'm just excuse me to go upstairs.
They just hear me jogging like.
The solution is they need party games in Ring Fit.
Exactly.
Or something.
True.
Ring-con party games.
So I ended up doing what Steve suggested, where like on Monday I did like a 20-minute or like even maybe a little bit longer session, and was just like, all right, cool. Like Good enough.
It's not an hour though, is it? Like Chewy. It's not an hour.
Look, all right. We can't all be fucking athletes like Chewy over here doing. He's like, oh, I'm on max difficulty, and I went for an hour.
Just the Olympian of Nintendo noise.
He is.
It was 53 minutes, but now I am like, I think I could hit an hour.
I'm sure you could.
I don't think I would have been able to stop. If I'd made it to 53 minutes, I'd have had to have gone another 7, even if it was just jogging and doing no squats or any exercises. I'd have made it happen.
That's what happened to me with the 21, where like I had gotten a little bit over, like I was at like 12 or something like that, and I was like, I want to go a little bit further. Let me do one more level, and the one more level was the boss fight that you were talking about on level 8, where I had to do like 1,000,000 squats and then do the boss fight. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm working out for a half hour or whatever.
I hated it. Yeah.
My legs are still like
World
jelly.
9s.
Yeah, and this is the week of surprise. There are more than 10 worlds. There are 20.
Right, what was that about?
That's crazy because it takes so long to get through each one. There's so much content, and it's not just like if you really want to 100% it, there's all the requests you got to do. So you're doing some of those like chapters on repeat. So yeah, crazy stuff.
Then you get the double jump and you want to go back and find out what was on those like separate pathways and finish all that up. It's crazy.
Metroid really spoiled you, huh, buddy?
I genuinely thought like I'm gonna finish it. I even tweeted, I think it was yesterday or the day before. I was like, I'm just finished World 9. I'm on to World 10. I hope I can finish this by the end of Ring Fit February. And then Sierra messaged us and was just like, there's 20 worlds. And I was like, what the fuck? How the hell are there 20 worlds? I thought I was going to finish this game, but there's no way.
And the other thing is like if you fail a boss battle, if y'all ever have, I have plenty of times, then you have to go back and like the game's like, why don't you go back and level up some more? Since you're like, you're not ready. It's not
And the worst part about it is you look at the like recommended level for it and you're like,
and I'm always
above it. You're well.
It's like, yeah,
you got to go in with the revive smoothies. I don't go into it. I
bad smoothies.
Yeah, I failed I failed them twice, and then I realized that there's the revive smoothies that like just bring you back to life if you die, and I'm like, yes, that will do me. Thank you.
I had the same experience where like I lost one fight and I was like, I got to do this whole thing over again. I was like, never again, never again. But like, it's so funny because like you said, when it's like, oh, like maybe you're not a high enough level, it's like. Like, because like it's not like it's some game where I'm just gonna go. It's like you're telling me I'm weak. That's what you're telling me, game, and I'm pissed off about it.
You didn't do every squat perfect enough.
It's like, how dare you? God forbid I can't do 45 squats in a row.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that level P, the swings and then the lifts. Have you done was that the one? Have you done the one yet where it's like uphill squats on the track and then the crows chase you and it wants you to do squats really fucking quickly so that you run away from the crows? I was like, this just is not going to happen. The crows, like within like 2 squats, the crows had stolen my money off of me. There was no way I was going to be able to
just take it. Just take it.
What do those birds need fucking money for? Right? They don't participate in the economy.
Goddamn criminals.
Those shakes aren't cheap. They need their smoothies.
I don't want to live in this capitalist fitness world. It's a nightmare. Oh my god. But yeah, I finding out that there are 20 worlds, I felt like a simultaneous bout of like, I'm like, oh cool, all right, like what a challenge. But then I'm also just like, Jesus, I'm only halfway through this. Like,
I know, right?
I really thought I was getting somewhere.
I'm surprised the game is that big. Like, I really thought it was going to be done at 10 worlds, and then I would maybe go back and, like, 100% some areas, and then that would be it. But there's still more to go. Like, because the story of the game, right, it's weird. It's like you fight mostly the same guy for every, like, main boss battle. And then, like, he indoctrinates the 4 masters. And then, like, somehow, after every story be where it seems like you've gotten through to them, you haven't. And they're still under his spell.
Like, I'm just still evil.
I'm just. You've clearly demonstrated that you're able to defeat me 5 times, but this is the guy. This anthropomorphic dragon guy is the guy.
So the fact that this is a JRPG, what do we think the odds are that the final boss is like God, is like fitness God, right? Like, it's gonna be like the master of Swole, and it's just like this extremely.
This fucker better look like a biblical angel when I get to that point.
Wait, but when you say biblical, do you mean like Renaissance painting biblical or like actual biblical, where it's like a tentacle monster?
Yeah, with like 90 wings and 100 eyes.
That's what I'm looking for, yeah. But all the tentacles are just like fucking jacked, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So I will say, I think I've heard like you once you beat it, like get through the 20 worlds or whatever there, you can go through it again, and like everything is slightly different in the
It's like
story.
New Game
I
Plus,
think it's
yeah.
like a perspective change or something. So, and I was also thinking like, okay, we've done Ring Fit February a couple months now. Like, how many years of this is it gonna take for us to like
To actually beat the game?
I'm estimating 5 total.
My hope is that
It's like 25 in-game hours I've put into this game. 25, and I'm not even finished World 10 yet.
it's a JRPG.
Does anyone want to look up this game on how long to beat?
Oh my God, I'll do it
because I
right
feel
now.
like I need to scream.
No.
I really want to know if someone sped run this game. Like how long to get through super quick.
No cheats.
No, like attaching your ring card to like a drone and spinning it.
Oh my God.
No,
Okay,
I'm
all right, hold on. I'm
already.
sharing this screen for the kids. Okay, so it says for the main story, we have 34 and a half hours. Main and extras, it's 61 and a half. All styles is 50 hours. Completionist run is 160 hours.
I don't believe that.
I
think it's longer. It has to. What difficulty are they playing?
Well,
That's money for money.
What burns and hurts the most is like they're not counting your warm-ups and cooldowns as part of the exercise. There's also like
what the hell's
when
up
you do
with
other
that?
things in between, like the smoothie stuff, like
making the smoothies standing still for like a split second.
yeah.
If you're not moving in between doing the squats, that's not counted as any time whatsoever.
Yeah, I will say like calorie counting, that it's not important, but you are technically burning calories, like while you're in like a resting state or like cooling. Like they always used to tell us in kickboxing, like you actually do burn a lot of calories as you are stretching, you're ending your workout. There's still your body's still making an effort there. So
and I think the majority of the calories you burn are like not while you're exercising. It's just the rest of the day. Right?
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, so I think specifically the smoothies, I'm always just like, you're making me like really pumped. Like, why doesn't this count for anything? Like,
right?
Can we make this a mini game? Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Well, something for Ring Fit Adventure 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which will.
I think they'll do a second one, not DLC. It'll probably be DLC included in the expansion pack for free.
Yeah,
when
maybe.
Did this game come out? I don't remember. It feels like it's been around forever.
3 years now, I think it's the third year. 2019.
Yeah, I think 2018 was when it. Oh, was it 19?
2019.
Okay.
It's 2020, Pete.
Oh.
2022.
No, that was not.
Don't say that to me, Steve. That was mean. That was mean. Why would you do that? Look what you've done to Sierra.
You broke her.
Char.
All right, so I mean, we got 1 week left. How we feeling?
Feel pretty good. I feel bad. I've been trying to get in longer workouts, but life. So I do my 10 minutes and then I hop off. Today was a little longer. I fought grandma, but grandma fight number 3.
Did you see what was after grandma?
I didn't. I like it. It showed me the next world I was about to unlock, and then it was like, "You want to finish?" I'm like, "Get me out of here, yes, please."
Next world.
I didn't even look. So,
So that was Grandma World 11, right? That you did,
yeah,
or
Yeah,
are you
because I
further?
just did World 9's grandma.
yeah. I think
Okay.
it was 11. I think I've just unlocked to 12.
So
I think.
World 12, because I'm at that same spot. I played it today. It's El Dorago.
Yes, I remember now.
And it's just like nothing but Drago bosses, like statues as Drago. It's the
Oh
worst.
my god. All right, let's
That's
do it.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
So like 20-minute battles.
Basically, yeah.
Oh my god, that's not fair. For your last week, Sierra, that's just not fair.
What did that? Okay, if that is what 12 is, what the fuck is the rest of the game?
Right? Like, what is 20? Am I working out for
Yeah.
like 2 hours?
20 is you're gonna lift a car. They're gonna ask you.
Basically.
I like that. I like the I have no muscle
just
mass.
doing
I can
cross-
lift a car pipeline. That's cool. That sounds great.
Yeah, I'm having a good time still, but I gotta say, I don't think 10 minutes every day works for me in my lifestyle. I think I need to do 3 days a week and a longer exercise because finding 10 minutes on some days is like drawing
It's
blood
tough.
from a stone.
Yeah.
It's really tough. Like on a day when I've got my work meetings and then I'm streaming straight after work and then we're recording podcasts and I've got to cook dinner or go to the store or like visit family. It's just like, where do you fit it in?
Yeah.
And some days it's just not possible.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
I think it's tough for me because on those days when I do manage, like I'm like, okay, I did it. I always feel better afterwards. Like I always am glad that I did. But yeah, like some days it's just
And on those
It's
days
tough.
when I have managed to, I felt like I phoned it in. It's just been like, I've done my 10 minutes
sure.
and I've done 10 minutes and 1 second. And I did the easy stuff. Like I did mini games because I knew I'd be able to get through them quickly without really feeling like all that bad, which isn't the right mentality to have. Like we're doing exercise to make ourselves feel better and improve ourselves. I shouldn't be just like phoning it in just because I have this commitment and requirement to hit 10 minutes of time. It should be like, I can't do it today, so I just have to accept that fact. And tomorrow I'll work harder and I'll do 20 minutes or 30 minutes and I'll actually like do a decent workout rather than
Yeah.
just rushing through it just to hit that requirement. Like, it's a cool challenge and I'm glad that we do it. But I think I just, now having done it twice, I think I'm coming to the conclusion it just don't work for me.
Yeah, I mean, overall, like the important takeaway for me from this is like just be moving every day. Like don't like
Yeah.
try to just do something. Like I don't play with my dog enough, and now I'm like, okay, I don't have time to do like after this, I'm not going to be able to feasibly continue doing this every day because like there are lunch breaks that I do this on, and then like I technically shouldn't be, but it's like the only time I can squeeze it in. If it's a busy work day. Like I wish I could. I wish it was a world in which I could, squeeze it in then, but with at least like, with my dog, like I don't have to log into a game, warm up, do the thing, cool down. Like I can just be like, yo, let's go in the yard and throw a ball around. Like just trying to move around more in general, for sure. But it's been fun. I mean, like I enjoy the game. It's just like you said, Steve, it's just so stressful trying to be like, where do I fit it in?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely want to push myself to continue playing regularly, but I think I'll probably try to play it the way that it seems like you were playing it before this year, where it's like a supplemental thing where it's like you're doing it a couple times a week and, finding ways to keep active outside of that on days where you don't feel like it or you don't have the time or something like that,
Yeah.
Definitely something
yeah.
that I think is the important takeaway, right? Is like
For sure.
just trying to be a little healthier, right?
Yeah. But it's like crazy that we can all say like, we did this and committed to it. That's also like an incredible and very impressive thing given like how busy all of our lives are.
Yeah, and I think it's good. You know, we talked about like it's a good way to give yourself the excuse, right? Because like you are doing it with other people, and there's that sense of like I don't want to, I don't want to fail the challenge. I don't want to let the show down. I don't want to not have anything to talk about. Like, I think whether it's this or it's you get a gym buddy or whatever, right? Like whatever works for you. I think having community involved makes these things a lot easier.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely does. There's definitely been days when have been like, I know if I hadn't have committed to this and I wasn't doing it with you, it would be I just wouldn't do it. I'd be like,
Not. I mean,
no, I'm led on the sofa watching the 6th episode of Grey's Anatomy. I'm not getting up from this position where I'm in a nice lazy state to go do some exercise. But like now, I look at the clock and I'm like, yeah, I probably should. It's probably time to work out and close out my day.
Something I started doing that I think has actually made it easier is I've been like doing it in handheld mode with the kickstand up and like leaving something on TV or something like that, so that I'm not like focusing on the annoying dialogue and stuff. It's like, yeah, it's like more like getting on an exercise bike or something like that, and like just being like, how do I like I have a friend who does that where she plays a ton of video games, but every time she plays a video game, rather than sitting on her couch, she sits on her exercise bike. And she's like, I work out for like hours a day because
I feel like this is the next Twitch category. It's people on exercise bikes.
Do you guys know Brian David Gilbert?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what he does on Twitch.
Yep.
When he streams, he plays games from his exercise bike, and then like towards the end of stream, he'll have like an intense mode where like there's like flames on the screen, and he ramps up and he's still gaming. It's really great.
That's great.
So yeah, get creative with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I recommend the game to anybody who hasn't tried it. I think whether you're, in shape like, Chuy and Sierra, or you're like somebody who's looking to, get going, I think either way, it's something that you can get some value out of.
Yeah,
these
I think
exercises can be hard, for sure.
Yeah, and anybody who like just doesn't know where to start too, like this is great.
It's a lot cheaper than like a gym membership or a trainer or something like that, and it'll help you get some foundational skills.
Yeah, it really does teach you quite a bit to get started and get to just a healthy lifestyle and putting that movement into your day.
Absolutely. So we will be back next week with the final episode of Ring Fit February, even though it will be March, and we'll talk about our last week with the game. And, whatever else is going on in the world of Nintendo. So I know that we want to have a special main topic since it's going to be Sierra's last week on the show as a regular chair. Of course, she'll be back, at some point in the future. But we're going to do some wacky tier list or something. So if you've got an idea, hit me with it. All right. Steve and I already got some ideas brewing, but we'd love to hear from you, the community. And write in about, anything else we talked about today, right? Or hit us with your own original question, because I love when y'all inspire a main topic. It's always a good time, and it makes Steve's job a lot easier. So, hey, win-win for him, right? Help the poor boy out. It's past 1:30 in the morning. Let him get some sleep. So, there's a bunch of ways you can write into the show, be involved, show your support. Head over to flipscreen.games. You know how to do all that stuff. Sierra, let the folks know where they can find you and your amazing Twitch streams, all your content. Give them the links.
Thank you so much, Pete. I am Sierra Plus Ultra on Twitch and all social media, including Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And I stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So you can come find me usually like sometime between like 9 p.m. Eastern, usually 9 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays for Smash. So yeah. So when you're not watching Flip Screen Games, you can come hang out with me and Chuy when you're not watching Chuy on Twitch as well.
Thanks. Yeah, always hang out with Sierra. She's the best.
Aw, likewise.
Absolutely.
And when we're not exploding Sierra's schedule like we have for the last 3 weeks.
Where she's like, I'm going live at 8:30, and we're like, cool, it's 8:47, so...
Yeah, don't worry about me. I mean, likewise. I'm so glad that I could do this. Thank you so much for asking me. Like, this has been so much fun, and I love talking to y'all. I love learning from y'all, your perspectives on video games, and I feel like I learn a lot just in general through osmosis and hearing your conversations. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a blast.
I'm glad you've been having a good time. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. We always love making content with you, Sierra. So we'll have to have you
Thanks.
back again soon after Ring Fit February to, I don't know, talk about. Chuy had a weird tier list he just threw out before. We'll get some good ones out there.
Oh yeah, let's go.
All right, so that's going to be it for us on this week of Nintendo Noise. For the crew, I've been Pete. He's been Steve. He's been Chuy. She's been Sierra. We'll see you next week.